Hello everybody, Steelfist Gaming here, and recently a fairly big YouTuber shouted out one of my videos in a YouTube video he made where he was talking about speedruns, and my speedrun for my old channel, Res Platinum, came up where I was reading Diary of a Wimpy Kid as fast as I could. So probably half of that was me stuttering, but I'm going to try and do it better this time. Here we go. I'm going to take a drink of water first. To Mom, Dad, Ree, Scott, and Patrick. First of all, let me get something straight. This is a journal, not a diary. I know it says on the cover, but when Mom went out to buy this thing, I specifically told her to get one that didn't say diary. And I agree, all it needs for some jerk to catch me carrying this book around and get the wrong idea sissy. The other thing I want to clear up right away is that this is my mom's idea, not mine. But if she thinks I'm going to write down my feelings in here or whatever, she's crazy. So don't expect me to be all dear diary this, dear diary that. The only reason I agreed to do this at all is because I figure later on I'm rich and famous and I'll have better things to do than answer people's questions all day long, so this book is going to come in handy. Gregory, tell us about your childhood where you're always so smart and handsome. Here's my journal, now shoo shoo. Like I said, I'm famous one day, but for now I'm stuck in the middle school with a bunch of morons. Let me say for the record, I think middle school is the dumbest idea ever invented. You get kids like me who haven't even hit their growth spurt yet, mix them with these gorillas who need to shave twice a day. And then they wonder why bullying is such a big problem in middle school. If it was up to me, grade levels would be based on height, not age, but then again, Chirag Gupta would be still in first grade. Today is the first day of school, and right now we're just waiting around for the teacher to hurry up and finish the seating chart, so I figured I might as well write in this book to pass the time. By the way, I'm going to give you some good advice on the first day of school. You got to be real careful where you sit. You walk to class and just plunk your stuff right down to any old desk, and then before you know, the teacher's saying, I hope you all like where you're sitting because your seats are permanent. So in this class, I got stuck with Chris Hosey, and in front of me, Lionel James in the back of me. Jason Brill came in late and almost sat to my right, but I stopped that from happening in the last second. Is this seat taken? Yes, yes. Next period, I should sit in the middle of a bunch of hot girls as soon as I stepped into the room, but I guess if I do that, it just proves I didn't learn anything from last year. Will you pass this note to Shelley? Certainly. Ha ha ha. Greg is a dork. Man, I don't know what is up with girls these days. It used to be a whole lot simpler back in elementary school, though. The deal was if you were the fastest runner in class, you got all the girls. In 5th grade, the fastest runner was Ronnie McCoy. Nowadays, it's a whole lot more complicated. Now it's about the kind of clothes you wear, how rich you are, and if you have cute butt or whatever. Kids like Ronnie McCoy are scratching their heads wondering what happened. The most popular one in my grade is Bryce Anderson, and the thing that really stinks is that I've always been into girls, but kids like Bryce have only come around in the last couple of years. I remember how Bryce used to act in elementary school. Girls are stinky poos. Yeah, I don't think girls are stinky poos, but of course now I don't get any credit for sticking with the girls this time. Like I said, Bryce is the most popular kid in our grade, so that leaves the rest of us guys scrambling for the other spots. The best I can figure is I'm somewhere around 52nd or 53rd most popular this year, but the good news is that I'm about to move up one spot because Charlie Davies is above me, and he's getting braces next week. I try to explain all this popularity stuff to my friend Riley, who's hovering right around the 150 mark, by the way, but I think it just goes in one ear and out the other with him. Today we have phys ed, so the first thing I did when I went outside to sneak off the basketball court to see if the cheese was still there, and sure enough it was. The piece of cheese has been sitting on the blacktop since last spring. I guess it must have dropped out of someone's sandwich or something. After a couple days, the cheese started getting all moldy and nasty. Nobody would play basketball in the court, and the cheese was, even though that was the only court that had a hoop with a net. And the next day, this kid named Darren Walsh touched the cheese with his finger, and that's what started this thing called cheese touch. It's basically like the cooties. If you get the cheese touch, you're stuck with it until you pass it on to someone else. Scream! The only way to protect yourself from the cheese touch is to cross your fingers. But it's not easy to remember to keep your fingers crossed every moment of the day. I ended up taping mine together so they stay crossed all the time. I got a D in handwriting, but it was totally worth it. This one kid named Abe Hall got the cheese touch in April. Nobody would come near him for the rest of the year. This summer, Abe moved back to California and took the cheese touch with him. I hope someone does start the cheese touch up again because I don't need that kind of stress in my life anymore. I'm having a seriously hard time getting used to the fact that summer is over and I have to get out of bed every morning to go to school. My summer did not exactly get off to a great start thanks to my older brother Roderick. A couple days into summer vacation, Roderick woke me up in the middle of the night and he told me I slept through the whole summer, but that luckily I woke up just in time for the first day of school. You might think I was pretty dumb for falling this one, but Roderick was dressed up in his school clothes and he set my alarm clock ahead to make it look like it was morning. Plus, he closed my curtain so I wouldn't see it was still dark out. After Roderick woke me up, I got dressed and went downstairs to make myself some breakfast like I do every morning on school day. But I guess I must have made a pretty big racket since next thing I know, Dad was downstairs yelling at me for eating Cheerios at 3 in the morning. It took me a minute to figure out what the heck was going on. After I did, Dad, I told Dad that Roger could play trick on me and he was the one who should be getting yelled at. Dad walked down the basement to chew Roger out. I tagged along. I couldn't wait to see Roger get what was coming to him, but Roger was covered up his tracks pretty good. And to this day, I think I'm sure Dad thinks I have a screw loose or something. Today at school, we got assigned to reading groups. They don't come right out and tell you if you're in the gifted group or not, or the easy group, but you can figure it out right away by looking at the covers of the books they hand out. I was pretty disappointed to find out that I was put in the gifted group, which means a lot of extra work. When they did the screening at the end of last year, I made sure to get I made sure I got put in the easy group this year. Mom is real tight with our principal, so I've actually stepped in and made sure I got put in the gifted group again. Mom is just saying I'm a smart kid, but I just don't apply myself. But there's one thing I learned from Roderick is to set people's expectations really low, so you end up surprising them by practically doing nothing at all. Actually, I'm kind of glad I got my plan to... I'm actually kind of glad my plan to get put in the easy group didn't work. I saw a couple of the Bink Says Boo kids holding their books upside down. I don't think they were joking. Well, for the first week of school is finally over, so I slept in. Most kids wake up early on Saturday, watch cartoons or whatever, but not me. The only reason I get out of bed on the week is because eventually I can't stand the taste of my own breath anymore. Unfortunately, Dad wakes up at 6 in the morning no matter what day of the week it is, and it's not real considerate the fact that I like to enjoy my Saturday like a normal person. I didn't have anything to do today, so I just headed up to Riley's house. Riley's taking my best friend, but that is definitely subject to change. I've been avoiding Riley since the first day of school when he did something that really annoyed me. We were getting our stuff from our lockers at the end of the day, and Riley came up to me and said, "Want to come over to the house and play?" I have told Riley at least a billion times that we're in middle school and you're supposed to say hang out, not play, but no matter how many nuggies I give him, he always forgets the next time. I've been trying to be a lot more careful about my image ever since I got to middle school, but having Riley around is definitely not helping. I met Riley a few years ago when he moved into my neighborhood. His mom bought him this book called How to Make Friends in New Places, and he came to my house trying all these dumb gimmicks. I guess I felt sorry for Riley, and I decided to take him on our wing. It's been great having him around because I get to use all the tricks Roger pulls on me. You know how I said I play all sorts of pranks on Ray? Well, I have a little brother, Manny. I can never get away with pulling that stuff on him. Mom and Dad protect Manny like he's a prince or something, even if he never gets in trouble, even if he really deserves it. Yesterday, Manny drew a self-portrait on my bedroom door with permanent marker. I thought Mom and Dad were really going to let him have it, but as usual, I was wrong. But the thing that really bugs me about Manny is the nickname he has for me when he was a baby. He couldn't pronounce brother, and he started calling me Bubby, and he still calls me that, even though I keep trying to get Mom and Dad to make him stop. Luckily, none of my friends have found that out yet, but believe me, I have had some really close calls. Mom makes me help Manny get ready for school in the morning, and I make Manny his breakfast. He carries cereal to the family room and sits on his plastic potty, and when it's time for him to go to daycare, he gets up and dumps whatever he didn't eat right into the toilet. Mom's always getting on me about not finishing my breakfast, but if she had to scrape cornflakes out of the bottom of the plastic potty every morning, I don't think she'd have much of an appetite either. I don't know if I mentioned this before, but I'm super good at video games. I bet I could beat anyone in my grade head-to-head. Unfortunately, Dad is not exactly appreciative of my skills. He's always getting on me about going out and doing something active, so tonight after dinner, Dad started hassling me about going outside. I tried to explain how video games, you can play sports like football and soccer, you don't even have to get hot and sweaty, but as usual, Dad didn't see my logic. Dad is a pretty smart guy in general, but sometimes when it comes to common sense, I wonder about him. I'm sure Dad would dismantle a game system if he could figure out how to do it, but luckily, the people who make these things make them parent-proof. Every time Dad kicks me out of the house to do something sporty, I go up to Riley's and play my video games there. Unfortunately, the only games I could play at Riley's are car racing games and stuff like that, because whenever I bring a game to Riley's house, Dad looks it up on some parent's website, and if any game has any fighting or violence in it, he won't let us play. I'm getting a little sick of playing Formula 1 racing with Riley because he's not a serious gamer like me. All that you have to do to beat Riley is name your car something ridiculous at the beginning of the game, and then when you pass Riley's car, he just falls to pieces anyway. After I got done mopping the floor with Riley today, I headed home. I ran through the neighbor's sprinkler a couple of times to make it seem like to make it look like I was all sweaty, and that seemed to do the trick for Dad. But my trick kind of backfired. As soon as Mom saw me, she made me go upstairs and take a shower. I guess Dad must have been pretty happy with himself for making me go outside yesterday because he did it again today. It's really getting annoying when I have to go up to Riley's every time I want to play a video game. There's this weird kid named Fregley who lives halfway between my house and Riley's, and Fregley is always hanging out in his yard, so it's pretty hard to avoid him. Fregley's in my phys ed class at school, and he has this whole made-up language. Like when he has to go to the bathroom, he says, "Juice, juice." But us kids have pretty much figured out Fregley by now, but I don't think teachers have really caught on yet. Today, I probably would have gone to Riley's on my own anyways, but because my brother Roderick and his band were practicing down in the basement. Roderick's band is really awful, and I can't even stand being home when they're having rehearsals. His band is called Loaded Diaper, and it's spelled Loaded Diaper on Roderick's band. You might think he spelled it that way to make it look cooler, but I bet you if you told Roderick how Loaded Diaper is really spelled, it'd be news to him. Deb was against the idea of Roderick starting a band, but Mom was all for it. She's the one who brought Roderick his first drum set. I think that Mom had this idea where we're all going to learn how to play instruments to become one of those family bands you see on TV. Dad really hates heavy metal, and that's the kind of music Roderick and his band play. I don't think Mom cares about Roderick plays or listens to, because to her, music, all music is the same. In fact, earlier today, Roderick was listening to one of the CDs in the family room, and Mom came in and started dancing. That really bugged Roderick, so he drove off to the store and came back 15 minutes later with some headphones, and that pretty much took care of the problem. Yesterday, Roderick got a new heavy metal CD and had one of those parental warning stickers on it. I've never gotten to listen to one of those parental warning CDs because Mom and Dad let me buy them at the mall, so I realized the only way I was going to get a chance to listen to Roderick's CD is if I snuck it out of the house this morning. Roderick left, and I called Riley up and told him to bring his CD player to school. Then I went down to Roderick's room and took the CD off the rack. You're not allowed to bring personal music players to school, so we had to wait until after lunch when the teachers left outside. As soon as we got the chance, Riley and me snuck around the back of the school and loaded up Roderick's CD, but Riley forgot to put batteries in his CD player, so it was pretty much worthless. And I came with this great idea for a game. The object was to put the headphones on your head and then try and shake them off without using your hands. The winner was whoever shook the headphones off in the shortest amount of time. I had the record with 7.5 seconds, but I think I might have shook some fillings loose with that one. Right in the middle of our game, Mrs. Craig came over on the corner and caught us red-handed. She took the music player away from me and started chewing us out. But I think that she had the wrong idea about what we were doing there. She started telling us about how rock and roll's evil. It's going to ruin our brains. I was going to tell her that there weren't even any batteries in the CD player. I could tell she didn't want to be interrupted, so I just waited until she was done. I said, yes, ma'am. But right when Mrs. Craig's about to let us go, Riley started blowing out he didn't want rock and roll to do his brains. So, honestly, I don't know about that boy sometimes. Well, I've gone and done it. Last night, after everyone was in bed, I snuck in downstairs to listen to Roderick's CD on the stereo in the family room. I put Roderick's headphones on and cranked the volume up really, really high, and I hit play. First, let me just say I can definitely understand why they put the parental warning sticker on the CD, but I only got to hear about 30 seconds of the song before I was interrupted. Turns out I didn't have the headphones plugged into the stereo, so the music was actually coming through the speakers, not the headphones. Dad marched me out to my room and shut the door behind him, and he said, let's have you and me a talk, friend. Whenever Dad's his friend, you're in trouble. The first time Dad said friend to me, I didn't get that he was being sarcastic, so I let my guard down. I don't make that mistake anymore. Tonight, Dad yelled at me for about 10 minutes, and I guess he decided he'd rather be in bed than standing in my room in his underwear. He told me I was grounded for playing video games for 2 weeks, which is about what I expected. I guess I should be glad that's all I did. The good thing about Dad is whenever he gets mad, he cools off real quick, then it's over. Usually if you mess up in front of Dad, he throws whatever he has in his hands at you. Mom has a totally different style when it comes to punishment. If you mess up and Mom catches you, the first thing she does is take a few days to figure out what your punishment should be, and while you're waiting, you do all these nice things to try and get off easier, but after a few days, you forget you're in trouble, and then she lays it on you. This video game ban is a whole lot tougher than I thought it would be. At least I'm not in the middle of one of the family who's in trouble. Man, Roderick's gotten some hot water with Mom right now, too. Manny got a hold of one of Roderick's heavy metal magazine. The magazine had a picture of a woman in a bikini laying across the hood of a car, and then Manny brought it to school for show and tell. Anyways, I don't think Mom's too happy about getting that phone call. I saw the magazine myself, and honestly, wasn't anything worked up over. Mom doesn't allow that kind of stuff in the house. Roderick's punishment was to answer a bunch of questions Mom wrote out for him. I'm still grounded for playing video games, so Manny has been using my system. Mom went out and bought a whole bunch of educational video games, and watching Manny play them was like torture. The good news is I finally figured out how to get some of my games past Riley's dad. I just put one on the disc because Manny's discovering an alphabet case, and that's all it takes. Thursday at school, they announced that student government elections are coming up, and to be honest with you, I never had any interest in student government. When I was thinking about it, I totally got elected treasurer. I realized getting elected treasurer could totally change my situation at school. Nobody ever thinks about running for treasurer because all anyone cares about are the big ticket positions like president and vice president. So I figure if I sign up for one of the treasurer jobs, pretty much mine for the taking. Today I went and they put my name on the list for the treasurer. Unfortunately, this kid named Marty Porter is running for treasurer too, and he's real brainy at math, so I might not be as easy as I thought. I told Dad I was running for student government. He seemed pretty excited. Turns out he ran for student government when he was my age, and he actually won. Dad dug through the old box in the basement and found one of his campaign posters. I thought the poster idea was pretty good. So I asked Dad to drive me up to the store, get some supplies. I loaded up on poster board and markers, and I spent the rest of the night making all my campaign stuff. So let's hope all these posters work. I bought my posters into school today, and I have to say they are pretty good. I started hanging my posters up as soon as I got in. There were only about 3 minutes before Vice Principal Roy spotted them. Mr. Roy said you weren't allowed to write fabrications about the other candidates, so I told Mr. Roy the thing about the headlights was true, and it practically closed down the whole school when it happened. But he took down my posters anyway, so Marty Porter was going around handing out lollipops to buy himself votes. My posters sitting at the bottom of Mr. Roy's trash can, so I guess my political career is officially over. Well, it's October, and there are only 30 days left until Halloween. Halloween is my favorite holiday, even though Mom says I'm getting too old to go trick-or-treating anymore. Halloween is Dad's favorite holiday, too, but for a different reason. Halloween night, while the other parents are handing out candy, Dad is hiding in the bushes with a big trash can full of water, and if any teenagers pass by our driveway, he drenches them. I'm not sure Dad really understands the whole concept of Halloween, but I'm not going to be the one who spoils his fun. Trick-or-treat, tonight is the opening of the Crossland High School Haunted House, and I got Mom to agree to take me and Riley. Riley showed up at my house wearing his Halloween costume from last year. When I called him earlier, I told him just regular clothes, but of course he didn't listen. And I tried not to let it bother me too much, that I never let it go across that haunted house before, and I wasn't going to let Riley ruin it for me. Roger told me all about it, and I've been looking forward to this for about 3 years. Anyway, we got to the entrance, and I started having second thoughts about going in. Mom seemed like she was in a hurry to get this over with, so she moved us along. Once we were through the gate, it was one scare after another. There were vampires jumping out at you, and people without heads, and all sorts of crazy stuff. The worst part about this area is called Chainsaw Alley. There was a big guy in a hockey mask, and he had a real chainsaw. Roger told me the chainsaw has rubber blades, but I wasn't taking any chances. Right when it looked like the chainsaw guy was about to catch us, Mom stepped in and bailed us out. Mom made the chainsaw guy show us where the exit was, and that was the end of our haunted house experience right there. I guess it was a little embarrassing when Mom did that, but I'm willing to let it go with this one time. The Crossland haunted house really got me thinking. Those guys were charging $5 a pop, and the line stretched halfway in the school. I decided to make my own haunted house of my own. I had to bring Riley in on the deal because Mom wouldn't let me convert our first floor into a full out haunted mansion. I knew Riley's dad wouldn't be crazy about the idea either, so we decided to build a haunted mansion in his house basement, not mentioning to his parents. Me and Riley spent most of the day coming up with an awesome plan for a haunted house. I don't mean to brag or anything, but what we came up with sounds way better than Crossland High School haunted house. We realized we were going to get the word out that we were doing this thing, so we got a bunch of paper and made flyers. I'll admit, maybe we stretched the truth a little bit in our advertising, but we had to make sure people actually showed up. By the time we finished putting up the flyers, putting flyers up around the neighborhood, it was already back to and got back to Riley's basement. It was already 2:30, and we hadn't started putting the actual haunted house together yet, so we had to cut some corners in our original plan. When 3 o'clock rolled around, we looked outside to see if anyone showed up, and sure enough, there were about 20 neighborhood kids waiting in line outside Riley's basement. Now, I knew all our flyers' admission was 50 cents, but I see here we had the chance to make the killing, so I told the kids that admission was $2 and the 50-cent thing was a typo. The first kid to cough was $2 was Shane Snow, and he paid his money. We let him inside, and me and Riley took our positions in the Hall of Screams. The Hall of Screams is basically a bed with me and Riley on either side of it. I guess maybe made the Hall of Screams a little bit too scary, because halfway through, Shane curled up in a ball underneath the bed, and we tried to get him to crawl out from under there, but he wouldn't budge. I started thinking about all the money we were losing with this kid clogging up the Hall of Screams, and I knew we had to get him out of there quick. Eventually, Riley's dad came downstairs. I was happy to see him. I thought he could drag Shane out from under the bed and get our house cranking again, but Riley's dad was not in a helpful mood. Riley's dad wanted to know what we were doing and why Shane Snell was curled up under the bed. We told him that the basement was actually a haunted house, and Shane Snell paid for us to do this to him, but Riley's dad didn't believe us. I admit that if you looked around, it didn't really look like a haunted house, but all the time we had to put together the Hall of Screams and Lake of Blood, which was just Riley's old baby pool with a half bottle of ketchup in it. I tried to show Riley's dad our original plan to prove that we were really a legitimate operation, but he didn't seem convinced. Long story short, that was the end of our haunted house. The good news, since Riley's dad didn't believe us, he didn't make us refund Shane's money, so at least we cleared $2 today. Riley ended up getting grounded for that whole haunted house mess yesterday. He's not allowed to watch TV for a week, and he's not allowed to have me over at his house during that time. The last part isn't really fair because that's punishing me. I didn't even do anything wrong, so where am I supposed to play my video games? Anyway, I felt kind of bad for Riley tonight. I tried to make up to him and turn on one of his favorite TV shows, and I did a play-by-play over the phone so we could experience it that way. I did my best to keep what was going on the screen, but to be honest with you, I'm not sure if Riley was getting the full effect. Well, Riley's grounding's finally over, and it's just in time for Halloween, too. I went up to his house to check out his costume. I have to admit, I'm a little jealous. Riley's mom got him this night costume that's way cooler than his costume from last year. His night outfit came with the helmet and shield and real sword and everything. I never had a store-bought costume before, and still haven't figured out what I'm going to do as tomorrow night, so I'd probably just throw something together at the last minute. I figured maybe I'll bring out the toilet paper money again, but then again, it's supposed to rain tomorrow night, so that might not be the smartest choice. In the past few years, the grown-ups in the neighborhood have been getting cranky about my lame costumes, which I think that's actually having an effect on the amount of candy I'm bringing in. But I don't really have time to put together a good costume because I'm in charge of planning out the best route for me and Riley to take tomorrow night. This year I come up with a plan that'll get us at least twice the candy we had last year. On about an hour before we started trick-or-treating, I didn't have a costume. At that point, I was seriously thinking about going as cowboy for the second year in a row, but my mom knocked on my door and handed me a pirate costume with an eye patch and a hook and everything. Riley showed up around 6:30 wearing his night costume, and it didn't look anything like it looked like yesterday. Riley's mom made all these safety improvements to it, and you couldn't even tell he was supposed to be anywhere. She cut out a big hole in the front of the helmet so he could see better, covered it up with this reflective tape, and made him wear his winter coat underneath everything. She replaced his sword with a glow stick, and I grabbed my pillowcase, and me and Riley started to head out. My mom stops before we get to the door. I want you to take Manny with you. Man, I should have known there was a catch when Mom gave me that costume. I told Mom there's no way we were taking Manny with us because we were going to hit 152 houses in 3 hours, and plus we were going to be on Snake Road, which is way too dangerous for a little kid like Manny. I never should have mentioned that last part because the next I knew, Mom was telling Dad he had to go along with us to make sure we didn't step foot outside the neighborhood. Dad tried to screw out of it, but once Mom makes up her mind, you can't change it. Before we even got out of our own driveway, we ran into the neighbor Mitchell and his kid Jeremy, so of course they tagged along with us. Manny and Jeremy wouldn't go trick-or-treating at any houses with spooky decorations to them, so that pretty much ruled out every house on our block. Dad and Mr. Mitchell started talking about football or something, and every time one of them want to make a point, they stop walking. So we're only hitting about one house every 20 minutes. After a couple hours, Dad and Mr. Mitchell took the little kids home. I was glad because that meant me and Riley could take off. My pillowcase was almost empty, and I wanted to make up as much time as possible. A little while later, Riley told me he needed a potty break, and I made him hold off for another 45 minutes. But by the time we got to my grandma's house, it was pretty clear that if I didn't let Riley use the bathroom, it was going to get messy. So I told Riley if he wasn't back outside in 1 minute, I was going to start helping myself to his candy. After that, we headed back to the road. It was already 10:30. I guess that's when most grown-ups decide Halloween is already kind of tell, because that's when they start coming over to the dorm in their pajamas, giving you the evil eye. We decided to go home, so we made up a lot of time. And after Dad and Manny left, so I was pretty satisfied with how much candy we took in. When we were halfway home, this pickup truck came rolling down the street with a bunch of high school kids in it. The kid in the back was holding a fire extinguisher. When the truck passed by, he opened fire. I have to give Riley credit because he blocked about 95% of the water with the shield, and if he hadn't done that, all of our candy would have gotten soaked. When the truck drove away, I yelled something I regretted. 2 seconds later, we're calling the cops. The driver slammed on the brakes, and he turned his truck around. Me and Riley started running, but those guys were right on our heels. The only place I could think of that was safe was Grandma's house, so we cut through a couple of backyards to get there. Grandma was in bed already, but I knew she keeps the key under the mat on her French porch. So when we got inside, I looked out the window to see if those guys would follow us, and sure enough, they did. I tried to trick them into leaving, but they wouldn't budge. After a while, we realized the teenagers were just going to wait until we're just going to wait. So we decided we're going to have to spend the night at Grandma's. That's when we started getting cocky, making monkey noises at the teenagers and whatnot. Well, at least I was making monkey noises, but Riley was kind of making owl noises, but I guess the same general idea. I called Mom to tell her we're going to crash at Grandma's for the night, but Mom sounded really mad at the phone. She said it was school night and we were to get home right that instant. That means we're going to have to make a run for it. I looked out the window. This time I didn't see the truck, but I knew those guys were hiding somewhere and were just trying to draw us out, so we snuck out the back door and hopped over Grandma's fence and ran all the way to Snake Road. I figured that our chances were better there because there weren't any streetlights. Snake Road was scary enough on its own without having a truckload of teenagers hunting you down every time we saw a car. We dove into the bushes. It must have taken us half an hour to go 100 yards. But believe it or not, we made all the way home without getting caught. Neither one of us let our guard down until we got to my driveway, but right then there was an awful scream and we saw a big wave of water coming towards us. Man, I forgot all about Dad. I forgot all about Dad. We totally paid the price for it. When me and Riley got inside, we laid all our candy on the kitchen table. The only thing we could salvage were a couple of mints that were wrapped in cellophane and the toothbrushes Dr. Garrison gave us. But the next Halloween, I think I'll stay home and mooch some Butterfingers from the bowl Mom and Dad keep on top of the refrigerator. On the bus ride to school today, we passed by Grandma's house. It was rolled with toilet paper last night. I guess that was no big surprise. I do feel a little bit bad, but because it looked like it was going to take a long time to clean up. But on the bright side, Grandma's retired, so she probably didn't have anything planned for today anyways. In the third period, Mr. Underwear, our phys ed teacher, announced that the boys will be doing a wrestling unit for the next 6 weeks. If there's one thing in my school are into, it's professional wrestling, so Mr. Underwood might as well have set off a bomb. Lunch comes right after phys ed, and the cafeteria was a complete madhouse. I don't know the school's thinking of having a wrestling unit, but I decided if I don't want to get twisted into a pretzel in the next half month, I'd better do my homework on this wrestling business. So I read a couple of video games and wanted to learn some moves, and you know what? After a while, I was really starting to get the hang of it. Does it feel right? Yes, no help. In fact, the other kids in my class had better look at it because if I keep this up, I could be a real threat. Then again, I don't want to get too good. I don't want to do too good because this kid named Preston Mugg got named Athlete of the Month for being the best player in the basketball unit, so they put his picture up in the hallway. It took about 5 seconds for people to realize how P-Mud sounded when you say it, so that was over Preston. Well, I found out today that the wrestling Mr. Underwood is teaching is completely different from the kind they do on TV. First of all, we had these things called singlets, which look like those bathing suits they used in the 1800s. And second of all, there are no pile drivers hitting people over the heads with chairs or anything like that. There's not even a ring with ropes around it. It's basically just a sweaty mat that smells like it's never been washed before. Mr. Underwood started asking for volunteers so he could demonstrate wrestling holds, but there was no way I was going to raise my hand. Me and Riley tried to hide out in the back of the gym near the curtain, but that's where the girls were doing their gymnastics using it. We got out of there early. We went to the rest of the guys where Mr. Underwood singled me out probably because I'm the latest kid in the class and he tossed me around without straining himself. He showed me how to do all these things like a half Nelson or a reversal and a takedown and stuff like that. When he was doing this one called the fireman's carry, I felt a breeze down below and I could tell my singlet wasn't doing a good job keeping me covered up. That's why I thanked my lucky stars. The girls were on the other side of the gym. Mr. Underwood divided us in weight groups, and I was pretty happy about that at first because it meant I wasn't going to have to wrestle kids like Benny Wells who could bench press 250 pounds, but then I figured out how I did have to wrestle, and I would trade for Benny Wells in a heartbeat. Greg will be paired up with Fregler here. Fregler was the only kid light enough to to be in my weight class. Apparently, Fregley was paying attention when Mr. Arnold was giving instructions because he pinned me in every which way you can imagine. I spent my 7th period getting way more familiar with Fregley than I ever wanted to be. This wrestling unit totally has turned our school upside down. Now, kids are wrestling in the hallways and classrooms, you name it, but the 15 minutes after lunch where they let us outside are the worst. You can't walk 5 feet without tripping over a couple kids going at it. I just try and keep my distance. Marker was one of these fools going to roll right into the cheese and start the cheese touch all over again. My other big problem is I have to wrestle Fregley every single day. This other morning I realized something. If I can move out Fregley's weight class, I don't have to wrestle him anymore. Today I stuffed my clothes with a bunch of socks and shirts in order to get myself to the next weight class, but I was still too light to move up. I realized I'm going to have to gain weight for real. At first I thought I should start loading up on junk food, but then I had a much better idea. I decided to gain my weight and muscle, not fat. I've never been all that interested in getting in shape before, but I think this wrestling unit made me rethink things. I figure if I bulk up now, I could actually move. It could actually come in handy down the road. This football unit is coming in the spring, and they always divide teams up into shirts and skins. I think that they do that to make all the out of shape kids feel ashamed about themselves. If I could pack up some muscle now, it'll be a whole different story next April. Tonight, after dinner, I got Mom and Dad together and told them my plan. I told them I was going to need some serious exercise equipment and some weight gain powder, too. I showed them muscle magazines I got at the store, and so they could see how ripped I was going to be. Mom didn't really say anything at first, but Dad was pretty enthusiastic. I guess he was just glad I had changed heart from how I used to be when I was a kid. But Mom said if I wanted to get a weight set, I was going to have to prove I could stick with the exercise program. She said I could do that by doing sit-ups and jumping jacks for 2 weeks. I explained the only way to get totally bulked up is the kind of high-tech machines they have at the gym, but Mom didn't want to hear it. Dad said if I wanted to get a bench press, I should keep my fingers crossed for Christmas. But then Christmas was only a month and a half away, and I get pinned by Fregley one more time. I'm going to have a nervous breakdown. So it looks like Mom and Dad are going to be able to help. That means I have to take matters in my own hands as usual. I couldn't wait to start my weight training program today, even though Mom wouldn't let me get the equipment I need. I wasn't going to let that hold me back. So I went into the fridge and emptied out the milk and orange juice jugs and filled them with sand. I taped them to a broomstick and I had a pretty decent barbell. After that, I made a bench press out of an ironing board and some boxes. Once I had that all set, I was ready to do some serious lifting. I needed a spotting partner, so I called Riley, and when he showed up at my door wearing some ridiculous getup, I knew I was making a mistake inviting him. I made Riley use the measures first, mostly because I wanted to see if the broomstick was going to hold up. He did about 5 reps and he was ready to quit, and I wouldn't let him. That's what good training partner is for, to push you beyond your limits. I knew Riley wasn't going to be as serious about weightlifting as I was, so I decided to try and experiment test his dedication. I went in the middle of Riley's set. I got this phony nose and mustache Roger had in his junk drawer, and right as Riley had the barbell in the down position, I leaned over and looked at him. Sure enough, Riley totally lost his concentration. He couldn't get the barbell off his chest. I thought about helping out, but then I realized Riley didn't get serious about working out. He was never going to get to my level. Eventually, I had to rescue him. He started biting milk jug to let the sand leak out. After Riley got off the bench press, it was my time for my set, but Rod didn't say he didn't feel like working out anymore and went home. I figured he'll pull something like that, but that's the best you can expect when someone doesn't have the same dedication as you. Today in geography, we had a quiz. I have to say, I've been looking forward to this one for a long time. The quiz was on state capitals, and I sit in the back of the room right next to this giant map of the United States, and all the capitals are written in big red print, so I know I had this one in the bag. Right before the test got started, Patty Farrell piped up from the front of the room. Teacher, Patty told Mr. Era he should cover up the United States map before we got started. So thanks, Patty. I ended up flunking the quiz, and I'll definitely be looking for a way to pay her back for that one. Tonight, Mom came in my room and she had a flyer in her hand, and as soon as I saw it, I knew exactly what it was. An announcement that the school's having trials for winter play, and Mom said I should have thrown the thing out as soon as I saw it on the kitchen table. I begged her not to make me set up. Those school plays or musicals, the last thing I need is to have to sing a solo in front of the school, but all my begging seemed to do was make Mom sure I should do it. Mom said the only way I was going to be well-rounded is by trying different things. Dad came in the room to see what was going on. I told Dad that Mom was making me sign up for the school play, and if I had to start going to play practices, it would totally mess up my weightlifting schedule. I knew that would make Dad take my side. Mom and Dad argued for a few minutes, but Dad was no match for Mom. That means tomorrow I got to audition for the school play. The play they're doing this year is called The Wizard of Oz. A lot of kids came wearing costumes for the parts they're trying out for. I'd never seen the movie, so for me it was like walking to a freak show. Miss Norton, the music director, made everyone sing My Country 'Tis of Thee so she could hear her singing voice. I did my singing tryouts with a bunch of other boys whose moms made them come too. I tried to sing as quietly as possible, but of course I got singled out anyway. I have no idea what sopranos, but from the way the girls were giggling, I know that wasn't a good thing. Tryouts went on forever. The grand finale came with auditions for Dorothy, who I guess the lead character played in Who's Trial, but Patty Farrell. I thought about trying for the part of the witch, and I heard that in the play, the witch does all sorts of the mean things to Dorothy, but somebody told me there's a good witch and a bad witch, and with my luck, I ended up being the good one. I was hoping Mrs. Norton would just cut me from the play, but today she said that everyone who tried out was going to get a part, so lucky me. Mrs. Norton showed the Wizard of Oz movie, so everyone would know the story. I was trying to figure out what part I should play, but then pretty much every character has sing or dance at one point or another, but halfway through the movie I figured out the part I was going to sign up for. I was going to sign up for a retreat because one, they don't have to sing, two, they get to be Dorothy with apples. Getting to peg Patty Farrell with apples in front of a live audience would be my dream come true. I actually may have to thank Mom for making me do this play once it's all over. After the movie ended, I signed up to be a tree. Unfortunately, the other guys had the same idea, so I guess there's a lot of guys that have a bone to pick with Patty Farrell. I guess Mom always says be careful what you wish for. I got picked to be a tree, but I don't know if that's such a good thing. The tree costumes don't actually have armholes, so I guess we won't be doing any apple throwing. I guess I should feel lucky that I got a speaking part at all. There are so many, there are too many kids trying out, and not enough roles. I had to start making up characters. Ronnie James got stuck to be trying to be Tin Man. He got stuck being the floor shrub. Remember how I said I was lucky to get a speaking part? Well, today I found out I have only one line in the whole play. I say it when Dorothy picks an apple off my branch. It means I have to go 2-hour practice every day just so I can say one word. I'm starting to think that Ronnie James got better deals as Shrub. He found a way to sneak a video game to his costume. I bet that makes time really go by. So now I'm trying to think of ways to get Miss Norton to kick me out of the play. But when you only have one word to say, it's really hard to mess up your lines. Thursday, the play's like a couple days away, and I have no idea how we're going to pull this thing off. First of all, nobody's bothered to learn their lines, and that's all Mrs. Norton's fault. During rehearsal, Mrs. Norton whispers everyone's lines to them from the stage. I wonder how it's going to go next Tuesday when Miss Norton is sitting at the piano 30 feet away. Another thing that's screwing everything up is that Mrs. Norton keeps adding new scenes and new characters. Yesterday, she brought this first grader to play Dorothy's dog, Toto, but today the kid's mom came and said she wanted her child to walk around 2 legs because crawling around would be too degrading. So we got a dog that's going to be walking around on his hind legs for the whole show. But the worst thing is Miss Norton actually wrote a song that the trees have to sing. She says that everyone deserves a chance to sing the play. So today we spent an hour learning the worst song that's ever been written. Thank God Roderick won't be in the audience to see me humiliate myself. Miss Norton said the play is going to be a semi-formal occasion. I know there's no way Roderick's going to wear a tie for a middle school play, but today wasn't all that bad. Towards the end of practice, Archie Kelly tripped over Ronnie James and chipped his tooth because he couldn't stick his arms at a catcher's fall. So the good news there, letting us carve out armholes for the performance. Tonight was the big production of The Wizard of Oz, the first sign that things are not going to go well before the play even happened. I was peeking through the curtain to check out how many people showed up and to see the play. Guess who's standing right in front? My brother Roger wearing a clip-on tie. He must have found out I was singing. He couldn't resist the chance to see me embarrass myself. The play was supposed to start at 8, but it was delayed because Ronnie James had his stage fright. You'd figure that someone whose job was to sit on the stage do nothing could suck it up for one performance, and Ronnie wouldn't budge. Eventually, his mom to carry him off. The play finally started around 8:30. Nobody could remember the lines, just like I predicted. But Miss Norton kept things moving along with the piano. And the kid who played Toto brought a stool and a pile of comics on the stage, and that totally ruined his effort for the dog. In fact, it was time for the whole floor scene, and me and the other trees hopped into our positions, and the curtains rose, and when they did, I heard Manny's voice, Bubby. Great, I've been able to keep that nickname quiet for 5 years, and now all of a sudden, the whole time I knew about it. I feel about 300 pairs of eyeballs pointing my way, so I did some quick ad-libbing. I was able to deflect the embarrassment over Archie Kelly, but the major embarrassment was still in the way. When I heard Miss Norton playing the first few bars of We the Trees, I felt my stomach jump. I looked at the audience, and I noticed Roger was holding a video camera. I knew that if I sang the song, Roger would record it. He would keep the tape forever and use it to humiliate me for the rest of my life. I don't know what to do when the time came to start singing, so I just kept my mouth shut. The first few seconds, everything went okay. I figured that if I didn't technically sing the song, Roger wouldn't have anything to hold over my head, but after a few seconds, the other trees noticed I wasn't singing. I guess they must have thought I knew something too, because if they didn't, because I stopped singing too. The three of us were just standing there not saying a word. Miss Norton must have thought we forgot the words of the song because she came over to the stage and whispered the rest of the lyrics to us. The song is about 3 minutes long, but to me it felt like an hour and a half. I was just getting started and praying the curtains would go down and we could hop off the stage. But that's when I noticed Patty Farrell standing in the wings, and if looks could kill, us trees would be dead. She probably thought that we were ruining our chances of making it to Broadway or something. Seeing Patty reminded of why I signed up to be a tree in the first place. Pretty soon the rest of the street started throwing apples too, and I think Toto even got it on the act. Somebody knocked off the glasses off Patty's head, so one of the lenses broke, and Miss Norton had to shut down the play after that because Patty can't see 2 feet in front of her without her glasses. After the play was over, her family went home together, and Mom had brought a bunch of flowers. I guess they're supposed to be free because she ended up dumping in the trash can on the way out the door. I just hope that everyone who came to see a play was entertained as I was. If one good thing came out of the play was I don't have to worry about the nickname Bubby anymore. I saw Archie Kelly getting hassled in the hallway after... I saw Archie Kelly getting harassed in the hallway about 5th period today, so it looks like I could start to breathe a little bit easier. I'm trying to start less. With all this stuff going at school, I haven't even had time to think about Christmas. Is less than 10 days away. In fact, the only thing that tipped me off was Christmas coming up was Roger put his wish list up on the refrigerator. I usually make a big wish list every year, but this Christmas all I really wanted was a video game called Twisted Wizard. Mom, tonight man was going through the stuff catalog, picking out the winners, all the stuff he wanted. With a big red marker, Manny was circling everything in the catalog. He was even circling really expensive things like a giant motorized car and stuff like that. So I decided to give Manny some good big brother advice. I told him if he circled the stuff that was too expensive, he just got to end up with a bunch of clothes for Christmas. I told him that he should pick 3 or 4 medium price gifts so he could end up with a couple things he actually wanted. But of course, Manny went back to circling everything, so I guess I'll have to learn the hard way. When I was 7, the only thing I wanted for Christmas was a Barbie dream house, and not because I like girls, like Roderick said. I just thought it'd be a really awesome fort for my toy soldiers. When Mom and Dad saw my wish list that year, they got in a big fight over it. And Dad said there was no way he was getting me a dollhouse, but Mom said it was good for me to experiment with whatever kind of toys I want to play with. Believe it or not, Dad actually won that argument. Dad told me to start my wish list over and pick some toys that are more appropriate for boys, but then I just stick around when it comes to Christmas. Uncle Charlie's always gets me whatever. I told him about the Barbie dream house, and he said he'd pick me one up. On Christmas, when Uncle Charlie gave me my gift, it was not what I asked for. As I walked to the toy store, I picked up the first thing he said that said the word Barbie on it. So if you ever see a picture of me holding a beach fun Barbie, at least you know the whole story. Dad wasn't real happy when he saw what Uncle Charlie gave me. He told me not to throw it away or give it to charity, but I kept it anyway. And okay, I meant I took it out and played with it once or twice. That's why I ended up in the emergency room 2 weeks with a pink Barbie doll shoe stuck in my nose. And believe me, Roger has never let me hear the end of that. Tonight, my mom went out to get a gift for the Giving Tree Church. The Giving Tree is basically a Secret Santa kind of thing where you get a gift for someone who's needy. Mom picked out a Red Bull sweater for the Giving Tree guy. I tried to talk to Mom and get something cooler like a TV or a slushing machine or something like that. But imagine if all you got on Christmas was a wool sweater. I'm sure a Giving Tree guy would throw his sweater in the trash along with the 10 cans of yams we sent his way during the Thanksgiving food drive. When I woke up this morning, I went downstairs. There was about 1 million gifts on the Christmas tree. I started digging around. There hardly gifts, and it gives my name on it. But then he made out like a bandit. He got every single thing he circled in the catalog. No lie. I bet I'll bet he's glad he didn't listen to me. I did a couple things with my name. I did get a couple things with my name, like mostly books and socks like that. I opened gifts in the corner behind the couch because I don't like opening gifts near Dad. Whenever someone opens a gift, Dad swoops in and cleans up after them. I gave Manny a toy helicopter, and I gave Roger a book about rock bands. Roger didn't give me a book, but he didn't wrap it. The book he got me was The Best of Little Kitty, and Little Kitty is the worst comic in the newspaper. Roger knows how much I hate it. I think I've gotten it for the 4th year in the row. I gave Mom and Dad the gifts, and I give them the same kind of thing every year. Parents eat that stuff up. The rest of the relatives were showing up around 11, and Uncle Charlie came at noon. Uncle Charlie bought me a big trash bag full of gifts, and he pulled my present out of the bag. The package was the exact same size and shape as the Twisted Wizard video games. New Uncle Charlie came through for me. I got Mommy on the camera. I was ready to tour for my gift. It was just an 8x10 picture of Uncle Charlie. I guess I didn't do a good job of hiding my disappointment because Mom got kind of mad. All I can say is I'm glad I'm still okay because if I had to act happy about the kind of gifts growing up get, I don't think I could pull it off. I went to my room to take a break for a while. A couple minutes later, Dad knocked on my door. He said he had a gift for me out in the garage, and the reason it was out there because it's too big to wrap up. And I walked to the garage, there was a brand new weight set. The thing must have cost a fortune. I didn't have the heart to tell Dad. I kind of lost interest in the whole weightlifting, so when the wrestling unit ended last week, so I said thanks instead. I think Dad was expecting me to go down and start doing some reps or something, but I excused myself and went back inside. About 6 o'clock, the relatives cleared out. I was sitting and watching Manny play with the toys, feeling pretty sorry for myself, and then Mom came up and said that she found a gift behind the piano. The name on it said, From Santa. The box was way too big for Twisted Wizard, but Mom pulled the same big box on me. Big box struck at me when she got my video card for my game system. So I ripped out the package and I pulled out my present. Only this wasn't Twisted Wizard. It was a giant Red Bull sweater. At first I thought Mom was playing some kind of practical joke with me because the sweater was the same one we got for a Giving Tree guy. She did seem pretty confused and said she did buy me a video game. She had no idea what the sweater was doing in the box. And then I figured out, Mom told me that, told Mom there was some kind of mix up, and I got the Giving Tree's guy's gift and he got mine. Mom said she used the same kind of wrapping for both our gifts, so she must have written our names on the wrong tags. But then Mom said this is a really good thing because the Giving Tree guy is probably happy he got such a great gift. I had to explain you had to have a TV and a video game system play with Twisted Wizard because the game was totally useless to him. Even though my Christmas was not going to that great, I'm sure it was going a whole lot worse for the Christmas tree guy. I kind of decided to throw in the towel for this Christmas and I head up to Riley's house. I forgot to get a gift for Riley, so I just slapped a bow in the little kitty book that Roger gave me. That seemed to do the trick. Riley's parents have a lot of money, so I always count on them for a good gift. But Riley said this year he picked out my gift himself. Then he brought to me outside to show what it was. From the way that Riley was hyping his present, I thought they must have got me a big screen TV or motorcycle or something. Once again, I let my hopes get too high. Riley got me a big wheel. I guess I would have thought it was a cool gift when I was in the third grade. I have no idea what I'm supposed to do with it now. Riley was so enthusiastic. I tried my best to act like I was happy. Anyway, I went backside. Riley showed me a Christmas loot. He sure got a lot more stuff than I did. He even got Twisted Wizard, so at least I could play it when I come up to his house. But that is until Riley's dad finds out how violent it is. And boy, you never seen someone as happy as Riley with his little kitty book. Mom says the only thing I was listening didn't get. Well, I'm glad someone got what they wanted today. New Year's Eve, in case you were wondering what I'm doing in my room at 9 p.m. on New Year's Eve, let me fill you in. Earlier today, me and Manny were horsing around the basement, and I found a tiny black ball thrown on the carpet, and I told Manny to aspire. Then I held over and pretending I was going to make him eat it. Right when I was about to let Manny go, he slapped my hand, and guess what? Made the thread drop, and he swallowed it. Well, Manny completely lost his mind. I ran upstairs to where Mom was. I knew I was in big trouble. Manny told Mom I made him eat a spider. I just told her there was no spider, and there was a tiny ball of thread. Mom brought Manny over to the kitchen table, and then she put a seed, raising a grape on the plate, and Manny told Manny to point to the thing that was closest to the size of the thread he swallowed. Manny took a while to look over things on the plate. They walked over to the refrigerator and pulled out an orange. That's why I ended up getting sent to bed at 7, not downstairs to watch the New Year's Eve special on TV. That's also one of my only New Year's resolutions: never play with Manny again. I found a way to get some fun out of the big wheel Riley sent me for Christmas. I came up with this game where one guy rides down the hill and the other guy tries to knock him off with a football. Riley's the first one down the hill, and that was the throw. It was a lot harder to hit a moving target than I thought. Plus, I didn't get a lot of practice, and took Riley 10 minutes to walk the big wheel back up the hill after every trip down. But Riley kept asking to switch places with me, being the one who rides the big wheel. But I'm no fool. That thing was hitting 35 miles an hour. It didn't have any brakes anyway. I never did knock Riley off the big wheel today, but I guess I have something to work on for the rest of the Christmas vacation. I was heading up to Riley's today to play the big wheel game again, but Mom said I had to finish my Christmas present thank yous before I went out anywhere. I thought I could just crank out my thank you notes in half an hour. When it came to writing them, as usual, my mind went blank. Let me tell you, it's not easy to write thank you notes for something you didn't want in the first place. I started with nautical designs because I thought it'd be as easy, but after 2 or 3 cards, I realized it's practically writing the same thing every time. So I wrote up a general form on the computer with blanks that for things that need to change writing cards. From there, it was a breeze. The system worked out pretty well for the first couple gifts, but after that, not so much. Finally, I knocked Riley off the big wheel today, but it didn't happen the way I expected. I was trying to hit him in the shoulder. I missed, and the football went on our front tire. Riley tried to break his fall by sticking out his arms, and he landed pretty hard on the left hand. I figured he'd shake it off and get right back on the bike, but I didn't. I usually try to cheer him up with the jokes that usually crack him up, but weren't working. So I knew he must have hurt pretty bad. Christmas vacation is over, and now we're back to school. And remember Riley's big wheel accident? Well, he broke his hand, and now he has to wear a wrist cast. And today, everyone was crowding around him like he was a hero or something. I tried to catch it on some of Riley's new popularity, but totally backfired. At lunch, a bunch of girls wanted to invite Riley over to the table so they could feed him. What really takes me off about that is that Riley is right-handed, and it's his left hand that's broken, so he can feed himself just fine. I just realized Riley's injury was a pretty good racket, so I decided it was time for me to have an injury of my own. I took some gauze from home, and I wrapped my hand to make it look like it was hurt. I couldn't figure out why the girls weren't swarming me like they swarmed Riley, but then I realized the problem was the cast is a great gimmick for everyone who wants to sign their name on it, but it's not exactly easy to sign gauze with a pen. So I came up with a solution that I thought was just as good. The idea was a total bust, too. My bandage did add up, attract attention from a couple people. Believe me, they're not the type I was going for. Last week we had the third quarter of school, and I have a whole bunch of new classes. One of the classes I signed up for is something called Independent Study. I wanted to sign up for Home Economics too because I'm pretty good at Home Economics 1, but being good at sewing does not exactly buy you popularity at school. Anyway, in this Independent Study thing, this experiment they're trying out for the school for the first time. The idea is that a class gets assigned a project, and then you have to work it together with no teacher in the room for the whole quarter. The catch is when you're done, everyone in your group's the same grade. I found out that Ricky Fisher's in my class, which could be a big problem. Ricky's big claim to fame is that he'll pick the gum off the bottom of the desk and chew if you pay him 50 cents, so I don't have high hopes for our final grade. Today we have our Independent Study assignment, and guess what? We have to build a robot. At first, everyone kind of freaked out because they thought we were going to have to build a robot from scratch, but Mr. Daly tells us we're going to have to build an actual robot. We thought we just need to come up with ideas for what a robot might look like and the kinds of things to do. He left the room, we on our own, and he started brainstorming running away. I wrote down a bunch of ideas on a blackboard. Everybody was pretty impressed with my ideas. It was easy to come up with all of them. All I did was write down things I hate doing myself. But a couple of the girls got up in front of them, and they had some ideas of their own. They erased my list and drew their own plan. They wanted to invent a robot that could give you dating advice and give you 10 types of lip gloss on its fingertips. All of us thought this was the worst idea we ever heard, so we ended up splitting into 2 groups, the girls and boys. The boys went to the other side of the room where the girls stood around talking. Now we had serious workers in one place, and we got to work. Someone had the idea that you could say your name into the robot and it could say it back to you. Then someone else pointed out they shouldn't be able to use bad words for your name because the robot shouldn't be able to curse. We decided to come up with a list of bad words the robot shouldn't be able to say. We came up with all the regular bad words, but then Ricky Fisher came up with 20 more the rest of us never heard before. So Ricky ended up being the most valuable contributors to the project. Right before the bell rang, Mr. Darnell came to the back of the room to check out our progress. He picked up a piece of paper we're writing on, read it over. To make a long story short, independent studies canceled for the rest of the year. Well, at least it is for us boys. If robots in the future end up going around the cherry love gods on all four fingers, you know how it started. So in school, they started General Assembly, and they show the movie. It's great to me, which they show us every year. The movie is all about how you should be happy with who you are, not changing anything about yourself. To be honest, I think that's a really dumb message to be sending to kids, especially the ones at my school. Later on, they made an announcement that they're going to be opening safety patrols, and that got me thinking, if someone picks on a safety patrol, I can get them suspended, so I figured that I could use that any protection I can get. Plus, I realized maybe going in for a position of authority could be good for me. I went down to Mr. Winsky's office and I signed myself up, and I got Riley to sign up too. I thought Mr. Winsky could make us do a bunch of channels for jumping jacks or something to prove we were up for the job, but he just handed us our belts and badges on the spot. Mr. Winsky said the openings were for a special assignment. Our school is right next to the elementary school, and they've got a half-day kindergarten there. He wants us to walk the morning session kids home in the middle of the day, and I realized that it meant we would miss 20 minutes of pre-algebra. Riley must have figured that out too, because he started to speak up, and I gave him a wicked pinch underneath the table before he finished the sentence. Yahoo! I couldn't believe my luck. I was getting instant bullet protection and free pass from pre-algebra. I didn't even have to lift finger. Today was our first day of state patrols. Me and Riley don't technically have stations like all the other patrols, which means you don't have to stand out in the freezing cold an hour before school, but that didn't stop us from coming into the cafeteria for free hot chocolate they hand out to all the other patrols before homeroom. Another great perk is that you get to show up 10 minutes late for first period. I'm telling you, I've got it made with the safe patrol thing. At 12:15, me and Riley left school, walked the kindergarten home. The whole trip ate up 45 minutes, and there were only 20 minutes of pre-algebra left when we got back. Walking the kids home was no sweat. Before the kindergarten started to smell a little funny, I think he had an accident in his pants. He started to let me know about it. I just stared straight ahead and kept walking. I'll take these kids home, but I didn't sign up for diaper duty. Today it snowed for the first time this winter, and school was canceled. I was supposed to have tests pre-algebra, and I've kind of slacked off since I became safe patrol since I was so psyched. I just called Riley, told him to come over, and me and him have been talking about building the world's biggest snowman for a couple of years now. And when I say the world's biggest snowman, I'm not kidding. Our goal is to get in the Guinness Book of World Records. But every time we've gotten serious about going for the record, all the snow is melting, and we've missed our window of opportunity. So this year I want to get started right away. Riley came over, we started rolling the first snowball to make the base. I guess I figured the base was going to have to be at least 8 feet tall, and so if we wanted to have a shot at breaking the record, but the snowball got real heavy, and we had to take a bunch of breaks between rolls so we catch our breath. During one of the breaks, Mom came outside of the grocery store. Our snowball was blocking her car, so we got a little free labor out of her. After our break, me and Riley pushed that snowball until we couldn't push it any farther. Then we looked behind us and looked at the mess we made. The snowball had gotten so heavy it tore up all the sod Dad laid down this fall. I was hoping it would get a few more inches and cover up the tracks, but just like that, it stopped snowing. Our plan to build the world's biggest snowman was starting to fall apart, so I came up with the idea for our snowball. Every time it snows, the kids from Worley Street use our helpful sliding, even though this isn't a neighborhood. So tomorrow morning, when Worley Street kids came up marching our hill, Riley is going to teach these guys a lesson. When I woke up this morning, the snow was already starting to melt, so I told Riley to hurry up and get it down to my house. While I was waiting for Riley to show up, I watched Manny trying to build a snowman out of the piddly little crumbs that were left over from our snowball. It was actually kind of pathetic. I really couldn't help doing what I did next. Unfortunately for me, it was that when Dad was at the front window. Yeah, Dad was already mad at me for tearing up the sod, so I knew I was in for it. I heard the garage door opening. I saw Dad coming outside. He marched right out carrying a snow shovel, and I thought I was going to have to make a run for it. Dad was heading for my snowball, not me. In less than a minute, he reduced all our work to nothing. Riley came back a few minutes later. I thought he might actually get a kick out of what happened, but I guess he had his heart set on rolling snowball down the hill, and he was really mad. But Riley wasn't mad at me for what Dad did. I told Riley he was a big baby, and we got a shoving match. When it looked like we were about to get an all-out fight, we were ambushed from the street. It was a hit and run by the Worley Kids streets, and if Mr. Levine, Manuel's teacher, was there, I'm sure she would have said the whole situation is ironic. Today at our school, they announced there's an opening for the cartoonist job at school paper. There's only one comic slot, and until now, this kid named Brian Little has been hogging it all to himself. Brian came up with a comic called Wacky Dog, and when it started off, it was actually pretty funny, but lately Brian's been using his strip to handle his personal business, and that's why they gave him the axe. As soon as I heard the news, I knew I had to try out Wacky Dog and made Brian Little a celebrity at school, and I wanted to get into some kind of fame. I had a taste of what it's like to be famous in my school when I had an honorable mention in this anti-smoking contest they had. All I did was trace the picture from one of Roderick's heavy metal magazines, but luckily no one ever found out. The kid who won first place is named Chris Carney, and Chris smokes at least a pack of cigarettes a day. Me and Riley decided to team up to do a cartoon together, so after school he came up over to my house and we got to work. We banged out a bunch of cartoon characters really quick. That turned to be the easy part where we tried to think of some jokes. We kind of hit a wall. Finally came up with a good solution. I made up a cartoon strip where the punchline of every strip was Zooey Mama. That way we wouldn't get bogged down without having to write actual jokes and cut straight on the pictures. For the first couple strips, I did the writing, drew the characters. Riley drew the boxes around the pictures. Riley started complaining that he didn't have enough to do, so I let him write a few of the strips. But to be honest with you, there was an obvious drop of quality once Riley started doing the writing. Eventually, I kind of got sick of the Zooey Mama idea, and I pretty much let Riley take over the whole operation. Believe it or not, Riley's drawing skills are worse than his writing skills. I told Riley we should come up with some new ideas, and he just wanted to keep writing Zooey Mama comics, and he packed up his comics and went home, which was fine by me. I don't really want to be part of the kid who doesn't draw noses anyway. After Riley left yesterday, I got to work on some comics. I drew up with this character called Craig the Cretin, and I got on a roll. Must have banged about 20 strips, and I didn't even break a sweat. The great thing about these Craig the Cretin comics is that with all the idiots running around my school, I will never run out of new material. When I got to school today, I took my comics to Mr. Ear's office. He is a teacher who runs school newspaper. By the time I went to turn my strips in, I saw there was a pile of comics from other kids who were trying to get the job. Most of them were pretty bad, so I wasn't too worried about the competition. One of these comics called Dumb Teachers, and it was named by this kid named Bill Tritt. Bill was always in detention, so I guess he had a bone to pick with about every teacher in school, including Miss Ira. So I'm not too worried about the chances of Bill's comic getting in either. There were actually two decent comics in the bin. I slipped them under a pile of paperwork next to Ira's desk, so hopefully those ones don't turn up until I'm in high school. Today, during the morning announcements, I got the news I was hoping for. The paper came out today at lunchtime. Everyone was reading it. I really want to pick up the copy to see my name in print. I decided to play it cool for a while instead. I sat then at the lunch table, so they probably had room for me to start signing autographs for my new fans, but nobody was coming over to me telling me how great my comics was. I started to get a feeling something was wrong. I grabbed paper and went into the bathroom to check it out, and when I saw my comic, I practically had a heart attack. Mr. Arrow told me he had some minor edits in my comic, so he fixed a mistake and stuff like that, but I totally butchered it. The comic was ruined. One of my favorite ones. Craig and the Cretin talk about meth test, and he accidentally eats it, and the teacher yells at him for being such a moron. By the time Mr. Ear was done with it, he couldn't even recognize it as the same strip, so I'm pretty sure I won't be signing any autographs anytime soon. Me and Riley were enjoying our hot chocolate in the cafeteria with the rest of the trolls today, and there was an episode of the loudspeaker. Riley went to Mr. Winsky's office, and Riley came back 15 minutes later. He looked pretty shaken up. Apparently, Mr. Winsky got a call from the parents said Riley was terrorizing his kindergarten was supposed to be walking them home from school. Mr. Winsky was really mad about it. Riley said Mr. Winsky yelled at him about 10 minutes and said his actions disrespected the badge. I think I might know what Riley knows all about. Riley had to take a quiz during fourth period, so I walked the kindergartners home on my own. It rained in the morning, so there were a lot of worms on the sidewalks. So I decided to have some fun with kids. But some neighborhood lady saw what I was doing, and she yelled at me from her front porch. It was Mrs. Irvine, who was friends with Riley's mom. She must have thought I was Riley because I was borrowing his coat, and I wasn't about to correct her either. I forgot about the whole incident until today. And anyway, Mr. Winsky told Riley's going to have to apologize for the kindergartners tomorrow morning, and he's spending from the safety patrols for a week. I know I should probably tell Mr. Winsky about it was me who chased the kids with the worms, but I wasn't ready to set the record straight just yet. I knew if I confessed my hot chocolate privileges would be there, and right there was enough to make me keep quiet for the whole time being. At dinner, Mom could tell something's bothering me, so she walked to my room and came in afterwards and told me to talk. After I told her it was a tough situation, I didn't know what to do. I got to give Mom credit for how she handled it. She didn't pry and get all the details, and all she said, I was trying to do the right thing because the choices that make us who we are. I figured that's pretty decent advice, but I'm still not 100% sure what I'm going to do tomorrow. Well, I was all up all night tossing and turning over this Riley situation, but I finally made up my mind. I decided the right thing to do was just let Riley take one for the team this time around. On the way home from school, I came clean with Riley and told him the whole truth about what happened and how it was me who chased the kids home with the worms. And then I told him there were lessons we could both learn from this. I told him to be more careful about what I do in front of Mrs. Irvine's house, and that he learned a valuable lesson too, which is this: be careful who you lend your coat to. But be honest with you, my message didn't seem to be getting through to Riley. He was supposed to hang out after school today, but he said he was just going to go home and take a nap. I couldn't really blame him because if I didn't have my hot chocolate this morning, I wouldn't have much energy either. When I got home, Mom was waiting for me at the front door. Did you do the right thing? Yeah, Mom took me out to get ice cream at Special Street, and what this whole episode taught me is that every once in a while it's not such a bad day to listen to your mother. today there's another announcement on the loudspeaker today. To be honest with you, I kind of figured this one was coming. I knew it was only a matter of time before I got busted for what happened last week. When I got to Mr. Winsky's office, he was really mad. And Mr. Winsky told me an anonymous source had informed him that I was the real culprit in this worm chasing incident, and he told me I was effectively relieving my safe patrol duties effective me. Well, it doesn't take a detective to figure out that the anonymous source was Riley. I can't believe Riley backstabbed me like that. Was he saying they're getting chewed up by Mr. Winsky? I was thinking I need to remember to give my friend a lecture about loyalty. And later on, Riley got reinstated as safe patrol and actually got a promotion. Mr. Winsky said he had exhibited dignity under false suspicion. Although I thought about letting Riley have it for writing me out like that, and I realized something. In June, all the officers, safe patrols, got on a trip to Six Flags, and they let them take one for I'm sure Riley knows I'm his guy. Like I said before, Riley, the worst part of getting kicked off safe patrols is losing your hot chocolate flavors. Every morning I'm running to the back door of the cafeteria so Riley can hook me up, but either my friend has gone deaf or he's too busy kissing the officers' butts to nose me at the window. In fact, now that I think of it, Riley's been totally giving me the cold shoulder lately, and now and that's really lame because if I call collector, he's the one who sold me out. Even though Riley's been a total jerk lately, I decided to break the ice on the day, and well, that didn't seem to work. Ever since Riley's been hanging out with Colin Lee every day after school. What really stinks is that Colin Lee is supposed to be my backup friend. Those guys are actually getting ridiculous. Riley and Colin were wearing these matching t-shirts that made me want to vomit. After dinner tonight, I saw Riley and Colin walking together, chumming it up. Colin has overnight back, so I knew they were going to sleep over Riley's, and I thought, well, I took play that game, so the best way to get back at Riley's is to have them do a best friend on my own, but unfortunately, the one person who came to mind right at that moment was Fregley. I went to Fregley's house with my overnight bag, so Riley could see I had other friend options too. When I was sitting there, Fregley was in his front yard standing kind of the stick. That's when I started to think that maybe this wasn't the best idea after all, but Riley was in his front yard, and he was watching me, so I knew there's no turning back. If I had myself at Fregley's house, and Mom says she was disguised, Fregley with the flame, which is not a term I was too enthusiastic about. Me and Fregley went upstairs to his room. Fregley tried to get me to play Twisters with him, but I stayed about 10 feet away from him at all times. And I decided to pull the plug on the idea and go home, but every time I looked out the window, Riley and Colin were still in Riley's front yard. I didn't want to leave until those guys went back inside, but things started to get out of hand with Fregley pretty quickly. I was looking out the window. Fregley booked my backpack and a whole bag of jelly beans there. Fregley's one of those kids who's not supposed to eat any sugar. So 2 minutes later, he's bouncing off the walls. Fregley started acting like a total maniac. He chased me around upstairs. I kept thinking he was going to come down off his sugar high, but he didn't. Eventually, I locked myself in his bathroom to wait him out. Around 11:30, got quiet in the hallway, and Fregley started slipping a piece of paper on the door. I picked it up and read it. That's the last thing I remember before I blacked out. I came to my senses a few hours later after I woke up and cracked the door open. I heard snoring from Fregley's room, so I decided to make a run for it. Mom and Dad were not happy with me getting them out of bed to the morning, but at this point I could care less. Me and Riley have been ex-friends for about a month now. To be honest with you, I'm better off without him. I'm glad I could do whatever without having to worry about carrying all the dead weight around. Look, I've been hanging out at Roger's room after school and going through stuff. The other day I found one of those middle school yearbooks, and Roger wrote everybody's picture of the yearbook so you could tell how I felt about all the kids in his grade. Every once in a while I see Roger's old classmates around town, and I have to remember to thank Roger for making church a lot more interesting. But the page in Roger's yearbook that is really interesting is the class favorites page. That's where they put pictures of the kids who get voted most popular, talented, and all that. Roger wrote his class favorites page too. You know, this class favorites has me gears turning. If you get yourself in voted in the class favorites page, you're practically immortal. Even if you don't live up to what you got paid for, it doesn't really matter because it's on permanent record. People treat Bill Watson like he's something special, even though he ended up dropping out of high school. Still run to him in the food bar every once in a while. So here's what I'm thinking. The school year has been kind of a bust, but I get voted as a class favorite. I'll end on a high note. I've been trying to think of a category I have a shot at. Most popular, both sides of the leg are definitely out, so I'm going to have to find something that's a little bit more in reach. At first I thought maybe I should wear really nice clothes for the rest of the year so I get best dressed, but that would mean I have to get my picture taken with Jenna Stewart, and she dresses like a pilgrim. Last night I was lying in bed and it hit me. I should go for class clown. It's not like I'm known for being real funny at school or anything, but if I can pull off one of the big pranks before voting, I could do it. I was going to figure out I was going to sneak a thumbtack on Mr. Worth's show during history. We said something that made me rethink my plan. Mr. Worth's desk appointment tomorrow. He's going to have substitute. Subs are like comedic gold. You say anything about anything to them, not get in trouble. I walked to my history class today ready to execute my plan, but when I got to the door, guess who the history teacher was? Of all the people in the world to be our sub today, it was Mom. I thought Mom's days of getting involved in my school were over. She used to be one of those parents who came in to help out in the classroom, but that changed after Mom volunteered to be a chaperone on a field trip when I was in third grade. Mom had prepared all kinds of material to help us kids at different exhibits, but all I wanted to do was watch the animals go to the bathroom. Anyway, Mom totally failed my plan playing to win class crown. I'm lucky there's not a category called Biggest Mama's Boy because I win in a landslide. The school paper came out again today. I quit my job at school. Carnosis Craigton, the curious student, came out, and I didn't really care who they picked to replace me, but everyone was laughing at the comics page alone, so I picked a comic to see it was funny. I opened it up, I couldn't believe my eyes. It was Zero Mama, of course, Mysterio. I didn't change a single word of Riley's strip. Now Riley's getting all famous. It's supposed to be mine eventually. Even the teachers were kissing Riley's butt, and I almost lost my lunch when Mr. Worth drops his chalk in history class. Zoom Mama has really got me worked up. Riley's getting all the credit for a comic that we came up with together. I figured the least he could do is put a name on the strip as a co-creator. So I went up to Riley after school and told him that he was what he's going to have to do. Riley said Zoom Mama was his idea and he didn't have anything to do with it. I guess I didn't talk very loud because the next thing he knew, we attracted to the crowd. My kids at school are always itching to see a fight, and me and Riley tried to walk away, but those guys weren't letting us go until they saw us throw some punches. I've never been in a real fight before, so I don't know if I was supposed to stand or hold my fist or anything. You tell Riley didn't know he's doing either because he started prancing around like a leprechaun. I was pretty sure I could take Riley to fight, but the thing that makes me nervous is the fact that Riley knows karate. I don't know what hocus pocus to teach Riley in karate class, but I needed for him was lay me out there on the blacktop. Before me and Riley made a move, there was a screeching sound in the parking lot. A bunch of teenagers jumped out of the pickup truck and they started piling out. I was just happy to see that everyone's attention on the teenagers stemmed me and Riley, but all the kids took off when the teenagers started heading our way. Then I realized the teenagers looks awfully familiar. That's when they hit me. These are the same guys who chased me and Riley around Halloween night, and they finally caught up with us. Before we could make a run for it, we had our arms pinned behind our backs. Those guys wanted to teach us a lesson for taunting them on Halloween night, and they started arguing with what they should do with us. But to be honest, I was more concerned about something else. The cheese was only a few feet from us, standing on the blacktop, and it was nastier than ever. The big teenager must have caught my eye because the next thing I knew, he was looking at the cheese too, and I guess that gave me an idea I was looking for. Riley got singled off first, so the big kid grabbed Riley and drug him over the cheese. Next thing I knew, I don't want to say exactly what happens because if Riley tries to run for president, someone finds out what these guys did to him, he won't have a chance. So I'll put it this way: Riley blank the cheese. Because I knew they were gonna make me do it too, and I started to panic because I knew I wasn't gonna fight my way out of the situation. So I did some fast talking instead. I whipped my logic today, believe it or not, it actually worked. I guess teenagers were satisfied because they made their point and they made Riley finish off the cheese and they let us go. They got back to the truck and took off down the road. Me and Riley walked home together. Neither one of us said anything on the way back. I thought about mentioning to Riley maybe he could have pulled a couple karate moves back there, but something told me I had to hold off that thought for now. At school today, the teachers let us outside. After lunch, it took about 5 seconds for someone to realize the cheese was missing from the spot on the blacktop. Everybody crowded around where the cheese used to be. No one could believe it's actually gone. People start coming up with all these crazy theories about what happened. Someone said maybe the cheese grew legs and walked away, and it took all the self-control in my mouth to keep my mouth shut, and Riley wasn't standing right there. I don't know if I could have kept quiet. A couple guys were arguing over what happened to cheese, and the same ones were arguing me and Riley on afternoon, so I wasn't going to be long for it. Someone put two and two together. I figured we must have something to do with it. Riley started to panic. I don't blame him either. If the truth ever came out about how the cheese disappeared, Riley and I would be finished. We'd have to move out of the state, maybe even out of the country. That's what I decided to speak up. I told everyone I knew what happened to the cheese. I said I was sick of being out of the blackout, but I said I'd get rid of it once for all. For a second, everyone just froze, and I thought that they were going to start thanking me before I did, but boy, I was wrong. Really, I wish I had worded my story a little bit differently because of it. I threw away cheese. Guess what? It meant I had the cheese touch. Well, I really appreciate what I did from last week, and he hasn't said it, but we started hanging out after school again, so I guess that means me and him are back to normal. I can honestly say that so far, having the cheese touches hasn't been that bad. It's got me out of the square dancing unit visit because no one partnered up with me, and I had the whole lunch table to myself every day. Today was the last day of school, and they handed out the yearbook's 8th period. I flipped to the class favorites page, and here's the picture that was waiting for me. All I can say, if anyone wants a free yearbook, they can dig one out of the trash can in the back of the cafeteria. You know, Riley Jefferson can have class clown, all I don't care, but if he ever gets too big for his britches, I can remind him he was the guy who ate the... We all know it says cheese. Oh, the timer is off-centered this whole time. I'll have to re-edit that in. Well, my throat's hurting after that, but my previous record, I did that like 1 minute and 2 seconds, but last one was one hour and two minutes. I'm still in starting mode. But this one, my last one was 1 hour and 16 minutes. My voice is hurting after that, but that's a new record right there. I hope you guys all like that. Steelfist Gaming, signing out.